Hello, this is Jason Smolen of SmolenPlevy. I'm here today to talk about the opportunities that exist during these difficult economic times. Right now, there are some opportunities that exist because commercial real estate rates, vacancy rates, are increasing, which means landlords are under pressure to obtain tenants and to keep tenants. Business owners and operators that have leases that were perhaps considered very favorable or economically viable at the time that they made them may themselves be under a lot of stress because their business may have suffered a downturn as well. And it suggests that if there's ever been a time to try to renegotiate a lease, this is it. What I have found is some landlords are very willing to listen and understand that having a living, breathing entity in their space is better than none at all. Some don't, or believe that their tenant will survive and they'll be able to get what they need. But right now, vacancies, as I said, are going up, and some companies will not survive paying the rents that they've been paying. It's incumbent upon them to contact the landlord as early as possible before it becomes critical to discuss what changes might be made or could be made to allow them to weather the storm. I can almost guarantee you any tenant that was freshly looking for space today is going to get a much better deal than a tenant that's already in a space, and everybody knows that. The most important part of a lease is the rent you pay, and the costs you pay, and the pass-throughs that you pay, and the taxes that you pay. So since money is usually the lubricant that keeps everything running, the first thing to talk about is some concessions on rent, whether they, and that could take many forms. Everyone may agree that for the next 6 months you pay half rent, or for the next year you pay half rent. They could also agree that after you're back in the black and everything's going good, they recapture it, or it's permanently waived. It really depends on the negotiations and the circumstances. There could be a permanent reduction in the rent. It's complete renegotiation. In so doing, some landlords will want maybe a longer term or a different type of commitment or more guarantees that might not have existed before. If there's something you can offer, it may make sense to put it on the table too. It's not purely a matter of asking a landlord to give. Not a lot of incentive for the landlord to do that unless they realize you will just simply shut down otherwise. Smaller business owners these days are faced with a whole myriad of problems in trying to keep the ship afloat, keep the business running. Often one of the large ones, other than leases and other things we might have talked about, could be compensation. And what they take out of the business, what the employees take out of the business, what the profitability of the business is. Again, knowing that money and cash flow is the lubricant that keeps that engine running. Sometimes business owners have to decide among themselves, especially if they have multiple partners, whether there'll be any change in the distributions that they take to keep. They almost have to negotiate with themselves at times, and we found that we've had to assist business owners in negotiating amongst themselves on what sacrifices they are or are not willing to make in order to keep the company going. What should you do to keep the business afloat? Under these current economic circumstances, I think you run into less resistance than you would have years ago, where the economy is doing great. You know, GM going to its labor force to say, we need you to cut your salary to be competitive, would have been laughed at when the cars were going out the door. Now people really know if they don't take a pay cut along with everybody else, the company dies. So the ability to do these types of negotiations is enhanced right now. And you see it in the airline industry too, but you see it from the smallest company to the largest. I wouldn't call it a pleasant or good opportunity. It's a necessary opportunity because everybody on both sides of the table understands that something has to give for a company to survive. This is Jason Smolen. We've been talking about the opportunities during these trying economic times. If you have any questions, please call me at 703-790-1900. Thank you.